Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
What we're going to do is talk to Joe. So he's on.
ANITA, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes, okay. Thank you.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Okay.
It's a beautiful morning. I'm so glad that you're here. How's everything going for you?
Everything's going well, but I actually, although I was we never know what I'm going to talk about, and I never know for sure, there have been some major changes that I'm glad I have the opportunity to discuss, because they're going to impact on some of your listeners. Some of them have either heard me speak or heard me on your show or has actually met with me. And I said there's going to be some changes someday, and guess what? There are changes.
What kind of changes, for heaven's sakes?
Okay, there is a program called Enhanced Pension and Pension with Aid and Attendance that's available for veterans and the widows of veterans who have incurred medical expenses, including for long-term care, including home care, assisted living, and getting some help, that's been in effect for many years. And that has always been their policy. There was both asset limits and income limits as it related to it, but there was always a rule, unlike Medicaid, that said there will be no penalty imposed for transfers. So under the rule, there was an approximation that you could have up to $80,000 either individually or as a married couple, and that didn't count your house and your car. And that rule was very simple and very clear-cut. So if somebody came in to me last year and they had $180,000 and they were otherwise eligible for the benefits, I would say, well, do you trust your kids? Yeah, my kids are terrific. They're better with money than I am. Blah, blah, blah. Well, give them $120,000 today. And by the way, since you can give $11.2 million, the gift is not a taxable event. And we can apply tomorrow. And they say, well, what about the penalties? We thought there was a 5-year look back. And I said, no, 5-year look back applies for Medicaid. But there's no penalty for transfers for the VA. They just want to know, what do you have today when you're applying? But I've been saying since January 2015, actually before then, the VA has said they are going to ultimately impose a look-back period, and they are ultimately going to impose a penalty if there's transfers that are not for fair market value during that look-back period. And in fact, in January 2015, the VA proposed new regulations that they were considering, and they asked people to respond. And then the VA went to sleep on it. And
wow.
They always kept saying, someday we're going to impose new regulations, and they're going to come. Well, guess what just happened?
Oh, no.
On September 18th. They have announced the new rule for asset limits and transfer penalties, and that period is going to start as of October 18 of this year, a 30-day window. So, of course, and the rule was changed from what they had proposed, and it's 135 pages long.
Oh, goodness.
But I can synopsize the important things for your listeners, particularly for your listeners who have been aware of this and have relied upon the fact that there was no penalty period.
Mm.
The rule is going to be, and we didn't know, for example, what would the rule be? Would the rule be any transfers that occur after this date will be penalized? Will be anybody who's applied after this date who did a transfer, even if it was prior to the date. So the rule is now clear. They are only going to penalize transfers that took place before October 18th, 2018. What does that mean?
Yeah, this is scary, Joe.
Well, that's why I said that the timing is, they didn't give me a lot of time, but our timing is good. What the rule that means is, suppose you've met with me and you talked to me and you said, I don't know, I've got a little bit of, I'm able to take care of myself now, but I've got this diagnosis and that, and I'm slowing down and I'm afraid someday, and this is particularly important for people who want home care because the home care program has, there's no wait list in terms of timing like Medicaid, and it's not a program, it's just money. And they say, well, what should I do? And I'd say, well, you don't have to, if you blah, blah, blah for Medicaid, but if you're just talking about VA, you can transfer at the last minute, but we don't know when the rule will change. Well, now we know what the rule is. So suppose you're still that veteran or that widow of a veteran, and you've been diagnosed with some Parkinson's, but you're still out there doing what you can do, and you don't need anybody to help you with your activities of daily living. You don't have, and you can't, you don't want to phony and doctor it up as if you could. You don't want to spend money on what you don't need, and you don't want to do that. But you say, this is a debilitating disorder, and maybe in a year from now, I'm going to start needing some home help in the house because I can't get in and out of the shower safely. I need some help with that, or I need some help with this or that. So the rule is going to be any transfers made before October 18th, they don't care about. So if you apply in 2020, they're going to say, what transfers have you made? And their magic number is going to be since October 18th, 2018. So if you gifted $1 million to your daughter today, and I wouldn't suggest anybody do it without the advice of an accredited VA benefits attorney as well as certified elder law attorneys, and talking to their accountant and understanding whether they bought Apple stock at $2 a share, and that's a pretty dumb thing to transfer it and lose pay capital gains tax and stuff like that.
Wow.
So you got to make intelligent decisions. The gift may be exempt, but you may be committing economic suicide for other reasons. But any of the transfers prior to October 18th, 2018 ain't going to count. So you can see for some of my clients and some prospective people and some people who have listened to me on the radio before or some who are hearing this just for the first time, that's a significant change because a veteran who's married, who needs assistance, can get up to $2,169 a month from the VA tax-free. Well, that's pretty cool. If you want to stay at home, that can buy $70 a day of help. That could be the difference by getting somebody in. If you're using that magic number, you could have somebody in 5 days a week for 4 hours a day to help get you bathed, dressed, clothed, organized, and take care of you. And that may be the amount that will spare your spouse the weight and the burden of caring for you and can keep you at home.
Joe, so I have to interrupt you a minute because I'm so glad that you are on the show to do this. You are so clear. You really do make people listen and understand, and they can't do this by themselves. They need to go to you. They need to hear all this. So thank you for doing this show this morning.
Timing is everything, and thank you for having me and letting me be your guest Saturday mornings for, 20 years now?
Something like that. Boy, people have learned a lot if they've listened and paid attention.
So anyway, the look-back rule, so you say, well, what happens in 2025? Are they going to still look at my gifts that I made on November 1, 2018. No, there will be a 3-year look back. Right now, it won't be a 3-year look back. In December, it'll be a 2-month look back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it will be a 3-year look back, and then they're going to have a penalty. How are they going to know what the penalty is? And you got to be careful, and these are things that people are going to have to learn, and I'm warning people. I see people who go to non-certified elder law attorneys. I see people going to people who are not accredited by the VA to give benefits advice, and they're going to get their gooses cooked if they don't know what they're doing. First of all, there's an asset amount, and it's a strange thing. The VA's definition of asset is a new definition that I've never heard. Assets, to me, are what you have, right? What you own, right?
Yeah.
And income is income, right? So if you have $75,000 in the bank and you make $25,000 a year, you would say my assets are 75, my income is 25, right?
Yes.
The VA says their asset limit is going to take your assets plus your annual income will be your asset, your net worth for their asset limitation. So, and the maximum currently is they're using the same number as Medicaid uses for what's known as the Community Spouse Resource Allowance, which is $123,600. So if you're say, well, I only need, as long as my assets, not counting my house and my car, are under $123,600, I'd be eligible. So you have $100,000, and you say, well, I'll be comfortable. And then all of a sudden you look and you say, oops, between me and my wife, we're making $40,000 a year with our Social Security and our dividends. Now you're at 140 and not at 123. You're not eligible.
Oh my goodness.
So they're going to be playing. There's lots of stuff that's going to be confusing, and people who haven't bothered to, and by the way, I have read so far not only the 135 pages once. By the way, for those of you who want to go online and find it, if you have insomnia, by page 17 you'll be fast asleep. It is a wonderful non-pharmaceutical cure for insomnia. Trust me. Just pick it up and start reading. But I've read 4 different professional journals already coming out with their summaries of what they understand, and guess what? They're not in agreement entirely. What a shock that the government passed a law that wouldn't be clear. So anyway, what they're going to do is if you've transferred money that made you ineligible, and say you transferred $30,000, which would create an ineligibility period, what they do is they take the amount that you're worth, and that includes your income, and say you're worth 110, and say you gave $50,000. They total those two up, and they say that makes you worth $160,000. You're now 37,000 round numbers above the amount of the 123. I know this sounds complicated, and I'm doing this to show it is complicated. So we now take that 37,000 to determine that's the amount of money that the penalty will be. And then if the veteran or the widow is applying, we're then going to divide that by what is the amount that a veteran with a dependent could get. So they divide that by the 2169, and they say, okay, this is how long you're ineligible for VA. And that number can pull you above 3 years. So you may be ineligible, so it may be smarter not to apply until the 3 years have run. So there's lots of nuances on this, The most important things I can tell people is, one, it is no longer on the way, it's here. They had to give us some notice for people who are appropriate for this or want to do this in anticipation of the need. Mm-hmm. You've got less than 30 days to not only deal with the issue, get some advice, but actually function in. It's interesting. I met with some people yesterday who, strangely enough, I had done the daughter. It's for the father-in-law, the father. The daughter-in-law's mother had been my client to do Medicaid for her mother 15 years ago. The daughter came in with her husband today to do Medicaid yesterday for his father. And they wanted to know what they could do just in case. Aging, 91 years old, slowing down, forgets a little bit, could use some help getting a shower and doing stuff, but stubborn and is still safe at home, but is now one fall away from a catastrophic event. And they came in, and my advice yesterday was different than my advice would have been a week ago.
You know, I just have to tell you, I know you've been talking solo so long this morning, but I'm really upset about a lot of the things you're telling me. It seems there's a lot of unfairness going on, Joe.
Oh, well, welcome to
I know.
The United States of Putin, and that's the last thing I'll say that's political. Next.
No, I understand. I'm feeling terrible about what you're telling me, and I knew that we were going to see changes, but these are drastic. I'm just sitting here shaking. I'm so angry.
And the answer is, you know what? The thing that ticks me off the most about this is no matter who you are, what party you're from, what political leanings, left, right, center, they all say, our servicemen, God bless them, don't take a knee. It's disrespectful to the people who fought to save our country.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to doing something for the people who put themselves in harm's way, for people who have taken time out of their lives to do a payback to this country. And by the way, they did the payback when they were young. They didn't pay back. They paid forward. They said, I am 22, I am 19, I am 23. I am going to give this country, while I've got the youth and energy that could be used for many other more valuable things, for myself selfishly, I will not go and have myself declared unfit because I have bone spurs that I self-inflicted on a golf course. I will make myself stand out for my country, and I will give up my time. And today, our seniors today, when I first started doing this, I was talking to World War II veterans. We're talking Vietnam vets. We have treated them like crap throughout history, and we're just dumping it on them again.
Yeah, that's so well put, Joe, that it's so unfortunate. So it's the veterans that we were told that we're going to give them every possible thing, and now with this kind of change in law, this is so unfair. Does the public really know? I hope that your article in October coming up does something about this, or you feel...
My article in October will address it, but unfortunately, this is, I'm going to just talk to people that if they need to get on the stick on this, if they want to beat the 3-year penalty period, and I couldn't control this, and I couldn't give people, I gave people heads up. So the people I met with yesterday, I said a week ago, I would have said, hey, don't worry about this. The VA rules are there's no penalty. They're going to change the rules someday, but don't do anything. And this is somebody for whom they are planning. And they're planning for Medicaid, but there was reasons that we could have waited. And I said, well, my answer today is different than it would have been a week ago.
Why do they have to do this so quickly, Joe?
Yeah. Oh, these people, they are going, and the parent is on board. They're going to Bank of America today to transfer $120,000 to the children, not because they need VA today, but they know that this money could make a difference in keeping the parent at home. Having $2,000 a month come in tax-free for somebody who needs some assistance, who couldn't, and psychologically, and as you well know it, some of our seniors who, quote, need help showering, they don't really need help bathing and showering, but they are appropriately scared to death to walk into the shower without somebody in the house for attendance.
Yes.
They're scared they're going to fall.
Sure.
And they're right to be thinking that way. Just like you wouldn't let your 9-year-old kid or your 7-year-old kid jump into the pool in the backyard without having an adult back there.
Right.
Right?
Yep, you're absolutely right.
You don't want to have a 91-year-old person who's less than short of foot going into the shower without all of the safety nets you can have, including having somebody there to assist them. So that's just what's going on. I'm going to be working on a blog on it. My blogmeister has a very bad cold, so it'll probably go in Monday or Tuesday, and I'll be writing about it. We're going to be talking about it at our public seminars, but it's going to be tight and meaty, and for the people who want to call in, the trouble is the time is running. Our seminars, where we're going to spend, I'm going to probably have to do something to change the format to address the VA more than even other stuff traditionally, but I'll get to it.
Let me may I do that right now and tell everybody?
Please.
Okay.
Please.
So everyone, write this down. You must go. I don't care if you're near the place that he's going to have them, wherever it is, go. Tuesday, October the 5th. I'm sorry, the 9th, excuse me. Tuesday, October the 9th, from 1:30 to 4, up at Port St. Lucie at the Holiday Inn. Wednesday, October the 10th, 1:30 to 4, Courtyard by Marriott in Boynton Beach. Thursday, October the 11th, from 1:30 to 4, Palm Beach Gardens Marriott. You really need to attend one of these. And let me give you his website, because you'll be able to find more information on that, and you'll also be able to get there's so much that he puts on there. So it's KARP Law, KARPLAW, KARPLAW.com. Or let me give you their phone number. It's 1-800-893-9911. And that's the number. It's 800-893-9911 for the KARP Law Firm. But there's going to be a lot of questions. And I bet that these particular seminars will be very crowded. I hope they will be. I don't know if you're sending a notice to all your, the people you have on email. There's a couple of things. One, we're going to update our website to put this in as a news bulletin. But again, I couldn't do it fast enough because you can't shoot from the hip when you're giving legal advice. And when as I said, there's some experts out there who have already gotten conflicting opinions. I've got my own as I read it. That's number one. So we will be putting on that. Two, we have clients that have been planning for Medicaid that we have to contact and get them in. So we're going to be pressed for time. So people who are interested in this can come to the seminar. People who want to come in for paid consultations, and we're going to prioritize our clients. Our clients always come first because we that's our deal, right? Of course. Yeah. So, but when did you hear about this, Joe, first?
This came out September 18th.
No kidding.
September 18th. So today is what, the 22nd?
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Joe.
So we're talking about, and that's why it's October 18th. It's a 30-day window, period. This is not like, no political humor. This is not Dianne Feinstein saying I was holding on to it until I could release it, and I don't disapprove of her integrity on that. This came out, it hit the fan.
This is absolutely horrible. No. It is so atrocious, but, and we don't want to get political, but I think people need to realize, especially the veterans, they need to realize that you want to change things, you have to go and vote. That's what you have to do. I mean, this is outrageous.
And the other thing is what people have to understand. Lip service is not the right thing. We're giving these veterans lip service. That's all we're doing. We're saying, oh, the veterans, we love them, we do whatever. Okay? Incredible. I mean, and I understand costs, but they gave up more than we'll ever give them back. For those of you there, and there's less and less, the World War II veterans, you remember, you had the 52-20 club. After World War II, they basically, you were able to take a year off and get $20 a week. We had the GI Bill for education. Okay? We're dealing after World War II with a sense of appreciation, and we now realize something today that we didn't realize in World War II. In World War II, in World War I, when people came back from the war, they said, oh, they were shell-shocked and this and that. It's PTSD, and I'm sorry, anybody who's been to war is going to suffer PTSD. They're going to have that. We have tons of veterans from Iraq, from Vietnam, from Korea, who are suffering from PTSD, and we're ignoring it. They have post-traumatic stress disorder.
And Joe, we have run out of time. I wish we could continue this. This is so important, but please call. I think and go to his seminars. Joe, thank you so much. I am really very distraught.
On our website.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to whatever you had on your question list didn't get answered.
I'm glad you shared what you did, but thank you, Joe, so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.